Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and today I want to show you a way how you can show health with hearts. You can also go over and use anything else like energy bars or I don't know. You decide what you want to do. So what I want to introduce in here is how you can use half hearts like so we can lose one health and we will just decrease this heart by 1 as it is in Minecraft. Also you can later on heal by 2 hearts if you like to. You can always go and change that values on your own. Also, if producing a game like Zelda where you have the possibility to add a heart container, you have the possibility to do so and to fill up all of that health as you want. What I want to go over is I want to show you how you can easily create hearts like this with that cool effect around them with just Inkscape. And yeah, that's where we go and start with. So if you have your hearts done already, like those empty containers or half containers, then feel free to skip ahead. But if you don't have and you want to know how to create hearts in this style, keep on watching. So open up Inkscape and yeah, let's start how to create a heart. A heart in Inkscape isn't really tough. What we need to do is we need to create some basic curves for this one. What I want to do is at first I want to form a rough shape of a half heart like this. Once you are done with your line, don't forget to right click and then you have the possibility to duplicate this one by pressing Ctrl D, but don't forget to have the selector tool over here done already. What we want to do is we could press Ctrl D and then we do a horizontal flip for this one. And then just use Shift and the arrow keys on a Windows PC and then just move this one over. If you can see, this might not be in here 100%, but it doesn't really matter since we go over and change this. Also, if you have a problem that you are not able to fit this directly in here, then you might want to leave a small gap in between, and I will show you how you can fix all of that stuff. The next step is we need to combine both passes, make sure that they are not filled like they are in mine, just be blank. So if they are not blank, just go over to the bottom left in here and select no color for the fill. And be sure that the outlines are going to be black. Then what I want to do is I go to pass and say combine. This is the first option here, but as you can see they are combined, but there are small points or there is still that gap and those two half sides. If you have that problem as I have right now, we can go to the manipulating tool in here, which is the second one, where we can just manipulate all the knots. The first thing is I want to split those knots up. And the same when I go down to those knots, I want to split them too. So you can see they are splitted. Now I select the path on the left and just hit the delete key, and on the right one too. So this is a gap without the line in the middle. And the last part is we want to press that button to combine those 2 points so those are closed at that position. Like this. So now I have a 100% heart to the left and to the right. If you don't feel that is the shape you want, you might want to recreate that shape because that's easier and faster to do so. Now I take all those 3 points on the left and to the right by holding down Shift and going over with the mouse. If you don't like to use Shift and want to do that with every point either or just the left side and then the right side, you have the possibility to do so. Okay, so now I want to make those keys or that knots symmetrical. So you can see we have a rounded shape of a heart. Do not do that from the for the bottom and the top, or basically from the middle or center point. Now I want to go to the options for the border itself. There it is. So what you want to do is you want to select the last one in here in that fill and border tab. I don't know how this is called in the English version. I'm sorry for this. Anyway, I want to increase the thickness of that path to at least 5, or well, 5 seems to be a bit too big. It depends a bit on how your shape, how big it is on your sheet of paper. So decide what you want or what fits you best. Go to the selector tool once again. So this part is, or that heart is going to be selected. And now we go over and duplicate this once. hold down Shift, and then use the arrow keys once again to move this heart once over. We need to make a duplication of this one because we will do a cool trick right now. At first, select the first heart once again and duplicate this once again. Go to blur and set blur to at least 10. So you will have, hopefully, yes, then you will have that blur. What I want to do is, maybe I want to increase or decrease it depending on how I want the style to be. Do not look to the outer side, just look to the inner side, and you decide how high or how much you want that effect. Maybe 15 in my case is going to be good. Maybe in your case 15 is too much or too small, but size really doesn't matter. Now, since we have blurred the first one, which is on the top of the original one, we're gonna duplicate that once again, so we have doubled that effect we just have. Now we go over and select all three of them from the top left to the bottom right, so you make sure you got all those three selected. And what we do is we go to Object, Cut Path, and set it. What you can see now is that we have a complete setted cutoff path with that effect in here on its own. So we can basically take that cutted path. Maybe it is only at the outer rim where you can actually select this one. Then hold down Shift again and move this one down once. Now get rid of that shape in here and select the other shape and move it with Shift back once again. Why am I doing that? I want to make sure that when I duplicate the second heart in here once again, I want to make sure that I 100% hit the center point of this. If you're not able to do that, you have always the possibility to use the alignment tools. Okay, so now this is going to be my empty heart container. If I am not happy with that outline once again, I can always go in and change this to maybe 2 pixels instead, so it might not be that thick. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, the second one is I want to copy this, no, not this one. Let's see, this first one, that shadow thingy, and just go over with Shift and right arrow key once again to make sure that we hit that one. Also, since we need that heart once again, we're gonna duplicate the whole thing once again, hold down Shift and go over to the right. The difference between isn't really, doesn't really matter. However, we can fill this heart, the first one, Shift and click that one down, with red. So, and now I can see, or you can see, that we have a pretty cool, interesting effect on that heart, which already blends in that shadows. What I can also do is I can create some effect for this one. But I want to do that effects later on. Okay, so now let me go over and duplicate this one once again, so I only have that red heart. And I want to say that I disable the border, so hold down Shift and press the no color key to the left in the color panel over here, and then you have no border left. And what I also want to do is I want to cut this one in the middle. We have several possibilities for this. The easiest one might be to break those 2 points, so we just say break in here, and now I can just take those points and delete them, and then take this one, and there we go. So I had to click onto the outline over here where the path would be, and then you delete this one. If you are unhappy with that version, you can always create a rectangle, which is maybe white, and then you can just take this heart and this rectangle at the second and can go to path difference. So you can difference that path with the other path. Okay, but we don't want to. Well, I don't want to because I'm happy with that. Now I make sure that I am inside of the heart once again by holding down Shift and the up key, and now go to the right until I am in that part. And what I want to do is I want to shift this one into the lowest, into the lowest part with that key. So we move this one under the other objects, the red color. So last but not least, I go over and create a small blend effect basically, or just to make my heart a bit smoother or softer. So choose your circle panel in here, make sure that it is going to be white and has no border around, and then we blur this one out by maybe 20%, maybe more, maybe less. It depends on, again, how big or small your heart is basically. So once you have done that, you can go and duplicate this by Control D once again and shift this one over to any position, or just once, then you just go and paste this one at this position. Okay, once you have done that, don't forget to save all that stuff as SVG file by just go over and save this as hearts or whatever you want. And what you also want to do is, since Unity does not support SVG, basically not the normal way, you want to make sure that you export the bitmap. So what you want to do is you go to your texture folder in my assets folder, and there you have your textures folder, maybe where all your textures are in. I already have my hearts in here, as you can see. I already have another one I will show you later on. And once you have done that, you have to press export. So once you have exported this one, go back to Unity. Create a new scene in Unity, and then you will have your main camera and your directional light. So we don't want to fiddle around with anything currently. We just want to make sure that our hearts are working. As you can see, Unity does not provide basically in its texture type that gradients, except they are full color as the hearts are in here. So what we need to do is we go from the type texture to the type sprite to the UI. And we want to make sure that sprite mode is going to be multiple, otherwise we cannot split those hearts. Don't forget to press the apply button. As you can see, it will automatically hit the gradients and will everything work. Okay, so what you can see is we have all the 3 hearts in here. Again, it doesn't really matter in how we manage this one. Just make sure that your full heart is at the right position later on. I will show you that one in a moment. What we want to do is we go to slice in the top left corner and press the slice button, and this will be automatically sliced all the hearts we just created into 3, and press the apply button. So now we can create a canvas to use our hearts. I will show you some tricks in here and how you can manage to get everything work properly. So at first we need the canvas. This is going to be our UI canvas. You can rename this whatever you want. You can later on create more canvases. It doesn't really matter for now. So I just call this one UI canvas. You don't need to. Okay, in that canvas I want to create an empty image, which is just this white one. I go to 2D mode so I can see everything better and make sure that the rect transform tool for all the 2D elements is going to be selected. And then I position this one. Well, no, not yet. I want to make sure that I press the rect transform anchor point tool in here for the anchor presets and hold down Alt and Shift, that you have that small sign here, which is the uniform stretch. Now you can see it will stretch to the full size, but also the anchor points will be set automatically. What we want to do is we will reduce the size, and depending on where you want to have your health bar, you want to make sure that you add that. Even if you have a health bar from the bottom to the top or whatever, or maybe it is somewhere here, it doesn't really matter for us. And for now, you can always fiddle around with all that stuff. And same with the height, and same with the amount of hearts you want to later go with. Okay, so this image is basically just a placeholder, and I call this one live bar. Okay, and this holder or this live bar image will later on just hold down all our hearts. So I go over and press UI and enter another image. As you can see, it is way bigger than it has to. Well, on that image, I want to make sure that I add one of my heart containers, which in my case is going to be heart 0. Or as you can see, it's going to be a bit stretched, so I want to make sure that I preserve the aspect ratio on that image, no matter how this image is basically going to be formed. As you can see, it will always preserve the aspect ratio. Okay, that's important for us, so make sure that you have that. Okay, the next one is I want to rename this one to be heart container. This image, because later on there will be a lot of heart containers and they will get numbered automatically by Unity when we duplicate them, so make sure that you have this one right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to place this one inside of my life bar in here, maybe like this. What I also want to do is the life bar image. I want this to have a horizontal layout group. So why do I want that? Well, it's easier to use that horizontal layout group to fit in all the 10 hearts we want to take care of. Okay, so this heart container is going to be stretched automatically over the whole screen, but through aspect ratio it will not go smaller in size. Well, not yet. What you can also do is you can now go and select the heart container itself and duplicate this one 9 times. What you can see, it will automatically fit into. So what we have right now is the first heart container and the until heart container 9. So we have 10 hearts. If you later on want to use 20 hearts, then you can do so, but I would recommend use a grid layout group for this if you want them to be one under another. The next part is, since when I disable the image component, which we need to do later on with script, we will see that they will change their size because they will fit always in the horizontal layout group. What I want to do is I want to disable the layout group right now, so we can easily just disable those hearts when we just don't have them. And yeah, we don't have any stretching around. Also, I might want to go over into the UI canvas, and I'm not sure if this is really needed. We can test this out by reducing the size. Yeah, that you can see this is not fitting anyhow. So what we want to do is, before we do anything, is we set the canvas scaler to scale screen size, and you can use any reference resolution you want to. And what I also want to do is I want to fit the life bar once again in here, so I can easily grab around the hearts. And as you can see, if I want this a bit bigger or smaller, I can. But once I enable and disable the horizontal layout group, it will automatically fit all the hearts in the right or corresponding size. Now when I reduce the size again, as you can see, it will automatically fit the screen size, no matter what and where. Also, it will be placed always on the same position because of that 4 anchor points or anchors on the stretching part in here. Okay, so that's everything we need to do currently for our life bar. Now what we may want to do is, well, I dragged this one up because it might be seen a bit better. If you later on have any character, then we want to hook up everything to that character, and that character in my case will be just a cube or anything else. Well, I just take a cube. So this cube is not seen any at the moment because I have to reset its position, and there you can see there is my cube. Gonna zoom in by double click on it, and now I can just fiddle around with everything in here. The camera is still over there. Okay, so this is going to be my character, and everything what is going to happen with that heart will be hooked up to that character. Well, I don't, as I have shown you, I use to demonstrate everything those 3 buttons, but basically it's nothing else than just using any collider of this. So we have that set up, and what I want to do is I want to create a new script, of course, which is doing all my stuff. What I want to do is I want to create this one by, I just say heart system. What we want to do is we want to get rid of update because we don't need update for this one, we just need start. And what we also want to make sure is that we can use image components and sprites. So we add the namespace using Unity engine.ui. Otherwise we don't have access to image components and sprite components. So make sure that you add this one. Let me zoom in so we can see this one better. And let's get started. So what we want to do in our heart system, at first we want to set a private integer for the maximum amount of hearts we can use. In our case we have 10. If you have 20 or 3 or whatever you want, you can enter that amount in here. So make sure that it fits the images you just created in here. So in my case this is going to be 10. So max hearts amount, or max heart amount, is going to be 10. Also what I want to do is I want to tell how many hearts we will have in the beginning. So public int start hearts is going to be equal to be 3, and that's it. Make it public so you can always go and change that whenever you want, also from outside. Which means if you later on have to load any variables in here, then you can easily access them by that small public word. Otherwise, make them private if you don't want to. But in the creation part, it's always better to see what you're doing, so make it public if you want to. Okay, the next one is also another public one, which I use just to check if everything works properly, and this is our current health we have. So current health, we don't need to set any value to this one because it's going to be calculated anyways. Also, we need two other private ones in here. The first one is going to be the maximum health we can even have, and also this is calculated automatically anyways too. And the last one is going to be the health per heart. So every heart, since it can be split into 2 pieces, will automatically be 2. Well, not automatically, we set this one to be true, to be 2. So health per heart. If you later on have other health systems with 4 containers per heart or 5 or whatever you want, you need to set this value in here. Otherwise the system won't work. I will show you this one in the end of the video so you can easily populate this with anything you want to. Okay, so in start we want to set our current health to be equal to the start hearts times the health per heart. So what we do is we calculate start hearts, which is 3, times the amount of hearts. So our current health is going to be the double, or basically this times this. So 3 by 2, our current health will be automatically 6. So if we would decrease 1 health later on, we will have 5 later on left, and that is the way how we can show half health, half hearts. Okay, the next one is the maximum health we want to create, or basically calculate, and this is going to be the max heart amount, which is this, times health per heart. So health per heart, where is it? I don't know. Let's take this one. Okay, so we have the maximum heart amount, which is in our case 10, times 2 is going to be 20. So the maximum amount of health for this particular character, or health bar basically, is going to be 20. So make sure you calculate everything about, around those stuff. Then we want to create a new function, which we always call when we recreate something, or when we start the game, and when we want to modify the health bar later on, when we add some heart containers by, I don't know, any item pickups and anything else. So I want to call this one health amount, or check health amount. So what we do is we check how many hearts do we actually have by calculating the start health and so on inside of that, and looping through all the hearts and enable and disable them however we need them to be. So what we can say is we create a new for loop for this one. So this is a basic for loop you always ran over. And we start with our I at 0, and while I is smaller than the maximum heart amount, which is 10 in our case, then we want to increase I. Okay, so we loop through all those 10 times, basically. Or basically we do 10 loops for every heart we can have. And what we want to check while we are looping through that is if the start hearts are smaller or equal than I. What does that mean? We set start hearts to 3 at the beginning, and if the 3 is smaller than I, or smaller or equal than I, then we want to disable the heart images. And we didn't create all of that stuff, so we will go over into that in just a second. Okay, so that heart, or that heart images, are basically 2 arrays we are just go over and create. And also we need an array of all our hearts we can access. So what we do is we say public of type image, And this image is going to be an array, so we use square brackets for this one, and we call this one health images. Images, like this. We don't need to do anything else with that because we will fill them in by hand. You can always go and use editor scripting for this, but I don't go over and do that right now. This would just be too long. Okay, and of course, well, no typos please. We want to create sprite, a sprite array, which is the sprite sheet basically of our separated images. So this is going to be called Health Sprites. Health Sprites, like this. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to set those health images. And since we are going through all that images, that particular image which has a particular number in that array, we want to disable or enable this one, and so we set this one to dot enabled is going to be false. So we want to make sure that everything which is higher in I, so if we are at 4 basically, or at 3, we would disable the heart. Also, we want to make sure that if that is not the case, so we say else, we want to make sure that we set those to true. In this case, we need to do that, otherwise we would have problems later on. So make sure you add this one too. Okay, so let's test this one out pretty quick. At first we need to set up everything in our cube character object. So we drag in our heart system onto our object in here. Come on. As you can see, we have already a size of 0 and 0 for the sprites and for the images. Again, the images are the hearts on the container, or the heart containers basically. These are the images. The sprites are the ones we have just in our textures folder. Okay, so what we need to do is to our health images, we need to make sure that we add them all by hand. We just drag them over one after another. So make sure that you start from the top, which is the left one, and go down to the right. Otherwise you would have some freaky or weird effects later on where the wrong hearts are enabled or disabled because they are numbered and we are going through all that numbers. Okay, so when you have all those 10 images in here, you should have a size of 10, of course, in the end, in the health images. When you are done, you don't have to touch this anymore, so you can close this one. And in Health Sprites, go to your textures folder where we have our sprite sheet for hearts, which is this one. Open this one up by that small arrow in here, so you have access to all the small heart pieces. And then go over and drag them into that too. So hearts 0, hearts 1, hearts 2. Okay, so make sure that the empty heart is element 1, the half heart, no matter in which it is in the second one, and the full heart is going to be in the third element, or basically in element 2. Okay, once we have done that, we have everything set up. So we can now press play and can see if we have 3 hearts already in our scene, active basically. So let's see. Well, nothing happens. Oh, of course, we need to call check health amount after we have started everything and calculated everything. So make sure you start the function. And now when we are pressing play, we should have 3 empty hearts in the scene. There we go. 3 empty hearts because of the calculation we have already done. If you are unhappy with that live bar in the background, of course, you can always go and disable the image component so you don't see that. Or you can do any background you like to input in that at that point. Okay, back to mono develop and let's create our second function. The second function is basically the one which is doing all the calculation between all our hearts we just have. And this one is going to be called update hearts. Okay, in here we want to create a bool which is just created when the update hearts function is going to be called. What we say is it's going to be just empty, it's going to be false. We need that to differentiate between empty hearts or half empty hearts and full hearts. So, and what we also need is an integer of I, and we just set this one to 0 at this point. Now we create a for each loop. A for each loop basically does the same as a for loop, but it can be a bit more precise, because we can actually set this one to image, call this one image, and we can loop through a whole array or a list. So what we do is, for every image, which we call image, in our health images array, we want to do the same stuff. So that's what a for each loop is going to do. We can specify this one through a specific array of anything. It doesn't really matter. So, and since our health images are of type image anyways, we can do that like this. So for each image in our health image, we want to check it first if they are empty. Well, I will go over that empty stuff in just a bit. So if they are empty, we don't want to do pretty much stuff, except we set image sprite, which is the sprite we just called, is we want to set this one to health sprites number 0. So we take the first sprite, which is the empty container, and set the sprite, no matter if it is on or off, or enabled or disabled, because this is looking around and do that stuff. Once they are enabled, they will be set to be zeroed, or the 0 sprite, the 0th element in our sprite list, which is this, our empty heart. So make sure it is the empty one. Okay, so if it is empty, of course we want to say we want to draw the empty heart. Okay, so else, when it is not the case, so this is not going to be empty, then we want to do different stuff, of course. And what else do we want to do is, we want to increment I at first. So we say I++, which I is it? It's this one we just created. So we have something we can go up, basically. And what we want to do is, we want another if statement in here. And what we want to do is, we want to say if car health is going to be greater or equal the I we just incremented, multiplied by health per heart, which is this. So if our current health, which at the start is going to be 6, is bigger than I times the heart per health, so bigger than 0 times health per heart is going to be 0 in this case. So what we want to do at that point is we want to create the full heart image. So every time it is full, we want to draw the full heart. So what we do is we set the image sprite to be the health sprite dot length -1. Why am I doing that like this is, I could just set this one to health sprite too, because it is the full sprite in here, the full image. Well, yes, that's true. If I set this one to 2, then everything would work fine. But later on I might want to decide, oh no, I don't want just 2 images, health per heart basically, I want to have 4 or 10 or 20 or 100 per container. Then I don't need to go in here and change this once again, so this will be automatically changed and I don't have to do anything else anymore. So that's for the clever guys. So else, so if this is not the case, again, we don't have a full heart once again. We need to calculate how many hearts we currently have, or basically what is the current health of this particular image. And how we can do that, we create a new integer, and we call this one current heart health, and we need to calculate this one. And what we do is, at first we want to make sure that we typecast this one into an integer, so don't do anything else in here. And what we want to do is, we want to take our health per heart minus health per heart once again, health per heart times I, which is the incremented one in here, and this is going to be minus car health. So the next one we want to calculate is the health per image. So the health per image is going to be a new variable once again of type int, and we need to know how many hearts or how many sub-images our hearts are representing. So what we say is health per heart divided by health sprites well, Health Sprites dot length -1 once again. Need to take care that we do that in brackets. Okay, so we have 3 sprites, -1 is 2, and 2 hearts divided by 2 is going to be 1, so the health per image is going to be 1. If we later have 5 images, for example, the last one is going to be empty, so that's why we say -1. Then it's going to be a 4 basically, and 2 divided by 4 is going to be 0.5. So the next one is we want to create an image index. The image index is going to be calculated from the current heart health, which we just calculated in here. And what we want to do is we want to divide this by health per image. So those 2 variables divided is going to be the image index, and that index will represent the heart which is actually shown. So what we want to do is, for all those hearts which are not full or not empty, as we have set in here, we want to set its image.sprite to be equal to the health sprites, and again in that square brackets we have the image index, like this. Also at the very end we want to set this one to be empty. So empty is going to be equal to true. So that's basically it for the heart system, but we cannot do anything with that except just checking this one out, but we don't update this in any way. So what we want to do is we want to create 2 new functions, of course. Well, at first a take damage function, as you may remember from my take damage function tutorial already. If you don't, I will place a link under the video so you know how to take damage and do damage. And this is the same stuff happening in here. What we want to pass in is an integer of name amount, and this integer will decrease the health by whatever the amount is. So what we want to say is the car health is going to be plus equals the amount. I will tell you in just a second why. Also what we want to do is we want to set car health and clamp this between 0 and its maximum possible health at this particular point. So what we say is massf dot, well, not abs, we want dot clamp. What we want to do clamp is, of course, the current health. Then we say comma 0, 0 is the minimum value for this one, and the maximum value is going to be the start hearts times the health per heart. Health per heart. So we clamp them between those 2 values, between 0 and this is the current maximum health basically. So we clamp current health between this, so we don't have any overflow or underflow, and so we don't get any index exception or anything else from the arrays or for each loops. So we have no underflow. And when we call this function 2, we also want to make sure that we update our hearts. So we call the function 2. So everything in here will be repeated. That means if I heal or if I get damage, then this function will be called and everything will work in positive or in the negative direction. Okay, and the last function we need is, of course, a add heartcontainer function. So public void add heartcontainer, add heartcontainer. And we have 2 possibilities to do that. The first one is what I showed you. The first one is we want to increment the start hearts, so we can have 1 more heart. So we just increment this by 1. And what we want to do is we also want to clamp start hearts, because it won't be higher than the maximum possible hearts. So what we say is the start hearts is going to be equal to massf once again dot clamp. What we want to clamp is, of course, the start hearts, comma 0, and we want to clamp this to the maximum heart amount, which is 10 in our case. Okay, after we have done that, we want to check the health amount once again. So we go through the whole process of creation of hearts. Like we start in here, we go through, we update the hearts once we are done. Well, hopefully. If not, then we need to add this. Yep. So we check the health amount. When we are done and outside of the for loop, we need to call update hearts. So make sure you add this one in at that point. Then we go through all the update heart parts, and then we are done. When we are adding a heart container. If we are not adding a heart container, we just update the hearts. So also, if you are updating a heart container, you have the possibility to fill up all possible hearts at that point. So you might want to use it, you might don't want to. If you don't want to, you can just skip this one ahead. If not, if you want your player to get full health when they are getting a heart container, what you can say is the start hearts. So our current health is start hearts times the health per heart. Once again, so we fill in everything in the current health once again. Same if you have any items and so on, you can use that too. And the maximum health is also going to be set to the maximum heart amount times the health per heart. There we go. So with that two lines, you can fill up the whole system or the whole heart bar once again. Don't forget to save everything. I just clamped this out because I want to show you the difference. Okay, let Unity compile everything in here, and once it's done, we press play. We should have 3 full hearts, as you can see. But I cannot do anything because I don't have anything what is basically calling those two functions, the take damage and the add heart container. So what you can do, you can create anything you want. I just go over and create 2 buttons or 3 maybe to demonstrate this. So just go to your UI canvas, or I do that pretty quick in here. So this is going to be button 1, and this will be it will just have a text of health -1. Don't need that. Basically, I just increase the size a bit. Well, not just that, but the whole button. Like this, so you can see this one better in I2. Okay, so we have health -1. Then I also want to create another button, which is add heart. Maybe like this. And also I want another button. Well, I go and drag them down a bit here. And this one is going to heal us 2 points or whatever you want. So heal +2. Okay. So what we want to do is on the buttons, I just add a simple on-click event. The first one should decrease the health. So what I do is I drag in my cube or player object in here. You don't need to. You create your own damage system, as I showed you in the take damage tutorial again. What I want to do is I want to take damage, and how many damage? -1. Make sure that you enter a minus into that. If you just enter a 1, you will heal instead. Okay, in the heart container again, I select another on-click event, gonna add the cube, say heart system, and go to add heart container, and don't do anything anymore. And the last one, again, add a plus, drag in our cube, go to heart system, which is the script name by the way, and also take damage, but instead of minus, we just enter a 2 in here. Okay, let's play around with that. Gonna start that. If I press on the health -1, you can see I will decrease 1 health by every click. When I press the heal 1, I will heal a full heart, which is 2 healths at the same time. And I can add hearts until I have 10 and nothing else or nothing more. But again, if you want to have these hearts to be full once they are done, or once the player collects a free or a new heart, you want to add those 2 lines in here. Gonna demonstrate this too. So when we add a heart, as you can see, it will be full at the very point, and if the player already have lost a lot of stuff and you add a heart, it will automatically fill up to the maximum. Okay, that's everything I wanted to cover in that tutorial. I want to show you one thing. According to the system I have just created, is I have a small texture in here. Gonna show you this one in the sprite editor. As you can see, it already has a splitted way of hearts at this point. So I have a full heart, and this one is splitted in 3 and 2 in 1. That means we have 4 heart states instead of just 2, which are just a halfway. So you might want to create one of that things and enter or use this in your game. The same system is going to work. I'm gonna show you this one. I have that one in here. I take the empty heart in here, the heart with 1 point left in here, with 2nd point in here. The 3rd one will be added, and the last one is going to be the one which is a full heart. What I need to do is, when I use a 4 heart system which has 5 images, what I need to do is I need to say that the health per heart is going to be 4 instead of being 2. And that's pretty much it, what you need to change. So what we start is, again, with 3 hearts. They look a bit different, and that's my fail. But when I decrease 1 heart, as you can see, it will be automatically splitted into 3 once again. And now you can see that is a work in progress. If I now heal by 2, I get a half heart with them splitted up. Also, I can heal just a small amount. Again, this is a very complex system, but it works pretty good. So if you have 4 heart containers instead of 2, then just make sure that you have them. So now you have a complete system which you can use 4 hearts or 4 splitted hearts or 1 splitted heart, or even with no splitted heart this would work. So yeah, you have everything done, or I have everything done I wanted to show. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope it was helpful in any way. If so, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to thumbs this video up. And yeah, leave me any comment if you have any questions about that. So, see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.